r/felons. Funstay5039 says. Lost, need advice. I'm a 19-year-old male in Collin County, Texas and was pulled over last week. Cops saw my nicotine vape and said it was probable cause to search my vehicle. They found some THC gummies and a cart and took me to jail immediately. Now I'm being charged with possession of controlled substance, penalty group 2, 1, 4 grams. I have never been convicted or arrested or even been pulled over before. I have no criminal history whatsoever. This is a third-degree felony in Texas. Thankfully I was bailed out the next morning by my mom and I'm now waiting my court date. Please give me advice. I'm feeling very anxious and lost currently. I just don't want to be branded a felon for the rest of my life because I ed up when I was 19. I ed around and found out, but I just need another chance please. Ripped Apart 27 says. Get a lawyer, fight the probable cause or stop smoking, hit some drugs classes that will get the prosecutors thing hard and go from there. Holler at a lawyer first. The 8-inch donkey says. Yeah dude, Texas is a police state. Good luck try to leave that shithole state. Frick Texas and Arizona. Irated says. I'm sure you're already on this track, but lawyer up man. The courts are already overworked as it is. If you don't have a record, and being young as you are there's a chance they'll knock it down to a misdemeanor. I'm not a lawyer, I just have some friends who have been in similar situations but again. I'm not a lawyer. On the negative side you're in Texas. They don't play around down there. Lawyer up, dress well, shave and get a haircut, act remorseful and maybe you'll make it out just fine. Acoustic Rat 462 says. Leave Texas and come to Florida. It's just as shitty and hot as Texas, but weed is legal. Fatala 707 says. You can probably get a felony deferment program, not sure what they call it in Texas. It is basically a promise to expunge/reduce the severity of your charges in exchange for successful completion of probation or programs. Generally speaking, if you are brought up on a minor felony charge, which this is, you can plead guilty to a lesser charge instead. Hope it works out for you. Do your best to be a model citizen during your court proceedings and sentence, probably probation, which is a lot of hoops, but better than doing time for many people. Positive Course 7435 says. A felony for that much weed is, frick, I'm pathetic. Frick Texas. Sputnik 918 says. Oh my god, frick, Texas that is insane. Diabletadafant says. I'm a criminal defense attorney in Texas. The last thing you want at your age, or ever, of course, is a felony conviction. You've got your whole life ahead of you, you need to start consulting with some defense lawyers to see what can be done in your case. Hire the one who you're most comfortable with, who can answer all of your questions, allay your fears, and give you a game plan for the case. There's plenty of defense in the case, and probably some good leniency, because of your age and lack of criminal history. r/felons. Complex Yogurt 7011 says. Just met with my officer, found out drug testing isn't in my court order paperwork after. Hello friends again, I had my first meeting with my official officer. They put me on high risk at first. They wanted a sample. I reminded them that I didn't have it in my court order, so they checked my order and said they couldn't test me. Would you believe this? I asked my PO if it's okay to drink responsibly. I'm still worried about smoking since it's in my system longer. Would you trust this and say it's okay to smoke once in a while? I've been sober, prepared for the worst, but I want to be able to relax. Jumpy ad 6470 says. Check state laws, but your court order can be modified by the court. Now that your PO is aware, I would wait that out at least. If you feel that's a possibility, I would chill. Capable Moose 5275 says. So, TBH on your first 6 months, I wouldn't do shit. Let your PO get to know you, and then start working on freedoms and liberties. Bringing stuff up on a first meeting makes you look like a degenerate/addict who can't wait to get their next fix. The Thomas Usmk says, ask yourself, is getting high is really worth getting locked up over? If you struggle at all with that question, you've got a problem and need to get counseling or start meetings. Exploding Intestine 21 says, do not drink. Do not smoke. Wait until you're clear of the legal system. Echo Chamber says, I know it sounds preachy, but maybe avoid weed as you're involved with the law and have a record. You know how cops are. Scandisef says, I told my PO it wasn't court ordered, she didn't believe me and tested me anyway. I failed the test and I told her again it's not in my terms of probation. She looked it up and sure enough I was right. She had to throw out my test. A week later she had me go to court and had the judge change my terms of probation because my illegal piss test was dirty and R3 knew I was using drugs. They changed the terms and made the rest of my time on probation a living hell. Ali Diddle 325 says, homie, you got the green light to speedball away and get on the mice skates, then head to the cloudy forest of broccoli. Express Afternoon 36 says, should have just left at them not testing. You definitely wouldn't have told the PO you even were thinking about doing anything. You just tossed him a big red flag. Don't know details of your case, but probably chill. But if it's not serious and you know when you're scheduled for visits, you'll be good to go. r/felons. Shefooter 2139 says, moving abroad? I have a bachelor's in computer science, recently graduated with a 3.8 GPA, and I've done a lot of community service over those 4 years along with internships and independent projects. 5 years ago I got a breaking and entering W intent to commit A and B. It was an empty corporate building at night and a felony destruction of property. I had hope for the last 4 years and thought if I put enough time and good deeds between me and my record I'd be able to live a normal life. I've been through too many interviews to count, but the results always the same after they pull my record. So I figured, frick it, let me just find a job as a general laborer or something until I figure shit out. Today, the temp agency I went through told me that my record prevented me from being considered for general laborer, custodial and mechanical assembler jobs. That was pretty much the straw that broke the camel's back. I wanna move abroad, and I'm wondering if anyone has had success. Equal at 3814 says, you may not be able to move abroad with your record. They check your record when you try to move there. Over the Hill Millennial says, you'd be better off moving to a felon-friendly state than abroad. Hoping to have better success abroad with a felony is pretty whimsical. The job market is already tight and a felony B&D is a big one to overcome. If you have a tech background, I would suggest looking into smaller tech companies. Avoid big name companies and companies who have government contracts. Either way, you should probably be upfront with companies about your background. You'd be surprised how forgiving some smaller companies can be if you're candid about your background. Fun Faithlessness 526 says, I also have a bachelor's in CS and work as an engineer. The first company I got hired at had a policy of no convictions in the last 10 years, but I did 5 years in prison, so by the time I graduated it was just past 10 for me. Instead of moving abroad, just move to a state with felon-friendly laws. In New York State, employers aren't even allowed to not hire someone for a criminal record unless it has a direct relationship to the job duties. I actually got turned down for a job in that state some years ago, and the recruiter told me on the phone it was because of my record. My conviction was robbery, and it was an engineering job. I filed a complaint with the state and they actually investigated and interviewed me and the hiring manager. They eventually ruled against me because I couldn't prove it. If only I had had call recording on. Princess Reader says, have you thought about explaining your record before it's pulled? Be more upfront about it, rather than giving some the chance to see you as deceptive. Who Not Sounds Fun says, build stuff that makes money for yourself, so you don't have to worry about convincing someone to hire you. A video game, an app, an e-commerce website, you have the tooling to build those for yourself. r/felons. Federal Scheme 9108 says, criminal restitution. Hello, when all is said and done, I'll likely have hundreds of thousands of dollars to pay off in restitution. I got $5K to my name. I start a new job next week making $40,000 a year. How is this going to play out for me? Chopper Shark 1 says, I pay $200 per month on more than 4 mail in restitution. Everybody negotiates their own deal. Restitution can be painless if you play it well. Tar8325 says, mine's over $7 million and I pay $200 a month. It depends how much you make / worth at that moment they do the PSR. Obviously they'll re-evaluate it as your income grows, but you just gotta play the game. Tahousager says, I don't pay shit. Frick em. I don't advise this BTW. Born Empress 8113 says, move to a different country and forget about ever returning. One does not simply accrue hundreds of thousands of dollars while working a minimum wage job. Especially when you're also paying rent, utilities, groceries, etc. Even if you make it to retirement, you'll be paying these bills monthly and you'll basically be working until you're dead. Good luck. Overchoice 577 says, Signal Life 548 says, you're going to have a job point, dude. I'm not a felon, and I can't get a job to save my life. OK Mechanic 1373 says, my restitution was set at sentencing. The judge notes that you will start from zero, so generally it's extremely reasonable. If you were already sentenced, check your records. If you have a probation officer, we can look it up for you. Sajrajay says, $101K originally. Federal charge. 10% of my take home, or $200, whichever is larger. MacDaddick says, eventually, the court will issue an order to garn your wages, should be somewhere near 15-20% of gross. It may also order you to inform the court of future different employment. I'm now also, speak to the attorney who represented you when you got this sentence. They'll know exactly what the order says, and perhaps about hardship exemptions, if any. Good luck and keep us updated if you can. That's all for this video. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.